Hello chicos, chicas. Today I'm going to do a unusual thing, a little bit of a lengthy intro into the video, but trust me, it's gonna be worth it. So please come with me on this one. When a amateur player, club level player begins to play chess and goes on the path of improvement from, let's say, 0 rating to 1400, 1500, whatever, there is one thing that they are taught to do a lot, and it's not necessarily a wrong thing. In fact, it is the right thing to do, which is that we constantly teach them that every single move they need to look out for immediate threats, check the tactics, the knight jumps, the checks, the usual shindig when their opponent makes a move. Immediately ask, which they, by the way, still don't do too well, most of them, but anyway, what the purpose of the move is, and so on. And so we instill some crucially important, by the way, habits in all of our students, but all of these habits indicate a move to move, kind of very short distance thinking, and really a kind of short-sightedness by this is kind of triggered. And so as a result of overdoing this, once again, it's a kind of a collateral damage, really, because it's very important to acquire these skills, the tactical awareness, the being able to identify the short, quick, sharp threats. Nonetheless, we do somehow, by this, cause that effect where the player's ability to see the game as an evolving organism, where it's not move to move, but a string of moves that describe, or rather follow, a certain pattern, rather a trend, completely vanishes, or in fact it's just not born, and it's very difficult, or much more difficult, to teach well than the move to move things, the look out for your opponent's next threat. So let me demonstrate to you what exactly I'm talking about by showing you two games. Both of them were played by my beloved student Tikari in the recent 2024 Reykjavik Open, in fact last two rounds. So our friend Tikari is in the white trunks, following my opening course, and the opening is a raging success. Here we make a slight inaccuracy by not taking first and then bishop d3. Bishop d3 is a mistake because of knight b4, bishop takes, king takes, queen b1, pawn f5. Don't want to go there. Instead, opponent plays g6, 7,000 question marks, takes, castles. Now at this point, in my opinion, perhaps it would have been very, very handy to do this thing that I often like to talk about and ask my students to do, and this is actually the antidote to what I described earlier, the move to move, the short-sightedness, to take a step back and just look at what's in front of you. Not in so much, in terms of I'm threatening with this, they are threatening with that. Try to see the big picture. Because very often I see this, that people just get lost in the nitty-gritty. They pick out a single feature of the position, they absolutely get obsessed with it, and they just cannot let go, and they can't see the board in its entire 64 squared entirety, with lots of different ideas, concepts going on. So in order to model this, let me lean back and let me have a look at what's going on. Numero uno, we have got a spectacular lead in development, which is combined with marvelous piece mobility. That's two things. 3, our king is beautifully safe and secure. Our opponent's king is really, really vulnerable. The dark color complex in particular is in shambles. And 3, the black queen is miserably misplaced in the middle of the board, walking or stumbling into multiple tempo moves that are about to come. So the overall vibe of this position is that we have got the initiative, and instead of trying to look for I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that one move shenanigan, we still need to build on this trend of we have got a nice initiative, let's bring all of our pieces into the game and see where it takes us. And I'm not arguing here against calculation. It's very important that we understand that, right? Because in fact, these two things really rely upon one another. because me identifying that I am still not quite done with development, but all the developing moves I will have will come with tempi, actually helps me to calculate, because it already directs my thinking toward the correct moves. So I'm not going to start calculating bishop takes g6 or bishop takes b8 or a move that you will see in the game. But maybe I perhaps cashed in a little bit too soon on this idea of you know, evaluating the position by taking a step back and looking at the big picture. A3 was played, knight b4 was a threat, but it wasn't necessarily the best move. Bishop e4 and queen b5. And this is the key point in the game. And it's very easy to critique the student, by the way, who, by the way, and I also would like to mention this, has a very fine sense for positional play and positional nuances and advantages and all that jazz. And less so, or less able in the dynamic department, shall we say. So in this position, student played bishop takes c6. Now, on one hand, if you are thinking on a move-to-move basis, this move makes perfect sense, because you look at it and you go like, well, it creates an isolated pawn, there's a really rubbish bishop on b7, what's not to love, right? But if you actually pretend that this is not your game, you are the guy standing over there, walking past the board, taking a glance at your board, and thinking, what's going on this board? They would go exactly through that list of things that I noted earlier: the better development, the better piece mobility, the awkward placement of the black pieces, the difficulty in completing development, the weak dark squares around the black king. All of this indicates that trading this bishop for this knight is a cardinal sin. It just doesn't make any sense at all, right? Because I have got rook d1 to play, which is just bringing another rook in into the game, and black is virtually out of moves. Like, there is nothing they can do. And by the way, that comes as a you know, follow up onto the not pulling a trigger on this. When you ask yourself, okay, so I have all these goodies, what's black's best move? What are they trying to do to me? And then we go like, they want to play bishop d7. Right, oh, so rook d1. And if I have to, my next move is rook c1, then bishop h6, and then when everybody is ready to fight, I am going to commit. But bishop takes e4 here brutally breaks a beautiful upward trend where our initiative and our leading development just kept on escalating, and we could have continued that trend by rook d1, which brings in an extra piece and denies black to bring in an extra piece. Right? Like, what do you do? It's just like there are no moves left for black to even consider. Like e5 not playable, bishop d7 not playable. They are completely stuck. And that just merely came from the recognition that, hold on a tick, we have been building this thing up. Let's just not pull the trigger too soon and just take a step back and take it from there. And had we done that, I have no doubt in my mind that we would have won this game. After bishop takes c6, it's a very, very different game. Already, by the way, our advantage shrunk from +3 to +1.2. Now, from here on out, this is an endgame technique scenario, which, by the way, is a video worthy on its own right, but I'm not going to do that here because I'm going to just focus on this one theme. Let me show you another example. This is our... I think this is our last round. No, this is the 8th round game. Either or. It doesn't matter. Oh no, I didn't copy this correctly. Wait, no. Bear with me. I'm gonna get this up in a moment. Whew, okay, I got it. No worries whatsoever. Imagine that I'm telling you awesome jokes right now. Okay. Oh wow, I did copy this twice. All right, so here we go. Analysis board up. And this time around we're looking at a Queen's Gambit. Once again, We prepared very, very successfully our variation. This is also, by the way, from my club players D4 course. And something very curious happened here. Derek remembered correctly that in these 97 setups, it's a common plan to drop the knight back to D2. This is a multi-purpose move. One purpose is to deny the C4 push, and the other one is to allow the F4 expansion on the king side. F4 comes, and then the opponent takes, and plays knight F6. Now, here we completely drop the ball, and that is actually a misunderstanding that we have covered up already with Derek, and that is that he didn't understand the purpose of F4, which primarily is to play F5, which would have created an absolutely brutal kingside attack here. But instead he committed to rook F3, a move that I really strongly disliked, because the purpose of it doesn't appear to be clear altogether, because rook H3 still we are not threatening with any. Okay, E5 is on, but it feels clumsy, it feels slow. Anyhow, opponent plays rook D8. We play rook H3. Opponent plays G6, dealing with the E5 threat. We play rook F1. Opponent plays rook C D7. And again, if you take a step back and you forget the move to move, how we exactly got here, you realize a number of things right away about what's going on the board. The first one is that white has got this beautiful triple pawn in the center, triple pawn formation, and there are multiple pushes that may be very tempting. More importantly, our opponent has doubled rooks on the d file, and rook takes d4 is very clearly an imminent threat. Right? Like, this is just a knockout blow. That exchange sack is going to turn the board upside down. And depending on your chess level of when you are watching this, you might not get that at all. And I will try to cover it briefly. Actually, I will in the end. But mark my words, that's on. So if we look at this from this perspective, we realize that there was a trend here. We developed all of our pieces to perfect squares. So in this regard, by the way, this trend has reached a higher peak than the previous game. But the opponent has done the same, although in a very passive formation, and they have got now threats. So now it is time to go, because there is no way I can improve any of these pieces anymore. It's virtually impossible. Right? The d2 knight can't move because it drops the e4 pawn. The bishop on d3 can't move at all. Bishop can't go. The heavies are as good as it gets. There is nothing to be done. Literally the trend, if you look at what's been happening from knight d2 onward, watch this. f4. Now it obviously utilizes the f1 rook. We failed to cash in, but still there is an upward trend, both literally and figuratively speaking. Or metaphorically speaking, roughly, sorry, rather. Rook f1, knight d7, and tada, that's it. You can't make this position better than this. And if you are just in a move-to-move concept of, oh, I need to bring the rook here so that I can go do that, all that, you're done. You're completely out of the game. And very often, actually, this higher level of concentration, this inability to take that step back and look at it as a whole, is the main reason why people don't play good moves, because they don't have this skill, which, by the way, is remarkable in high-rated players. This is literally the same thing that you see when a grandmaster takes a look at a position, any random middle game position, and within 10 seconds, they understand the main plans, the main counter plans, the best candidate moves for both sides. It is that understanding of what's going on the board as an overall organism. And here too, since we have got everything ready, we need to strike. And the absolutely most insane thing about this position is that every pawn move wins for white. Every single one of them. The most notable is d5 because, and this is a little bit personal, but one of the sample games, model games in my course, features exactly this concept, which, by the way, is the main idea of the system, that we break, they take, and then we push past. And this is particularly satisfying to do in this case, because we just absolutely destroyed 10 pieces, 10 points worth of pieces on the d file. Now the rooks are really the laughing stock of the black army, and after knight e4 f5, now the white attack just rages on. Pawn e6 is already a pending threat. By the way, I lied, because d5 also destroyed these two. So that's another additional 12.5 points there. So you get the gist. It's all over Red Rover. Like e6 next is just carnage. Would have been an absolutely sensational way to play. The slightly ugly e5 wins too, because after knight d5 we have f5. And again, it's just absolutely natural that you look for these crazies, because once again, you can't improve your army at all. So now is the time to use it. And so that's when the go time comes. Let me show you a few fun variations. ef5, e6 wins, bishop f5 wins, even rook f5 wins. Let me show you this. ef takes, I found a beautiful line here. Queen h5. Which one was it? Yeah, well, it's all over Red Rover, really. So, yeah, I don't even want to really go deeper into this than that. So, yeah, that was done, dusted, and even f5 is actually winning. Because if I engage with the f5, then we take back, and now knight c4, knight e5 has become a main attacking resource. This is by far the palest and the one that I would be the least likely to play. My preference is d5, but objectively speaking, e5 is by far the best. By the way, knight h5 is met by take, and then take, and that's also carnage city. Better still, actually, this is the line I wanted to show you. Bishop takes, king takes, queen takes, check. King g8, f5. Threat f6. Yeah, pretty cool. What did I do here? Bishop d5? Was it bishop d5? Bishop d5 f6. Okay, no, it was fe. I remember now. It was fe. That's right, because at first glance I didn't understand how this won. The way how it wins is rook f5, threat queen f7, rook h5. Bishop can't move because then rook g5 is made. Bishop d5. And here comes a sensational outcome, knight e4. Now, you can tell me that there is no way I would find any of this, and I would counter to that actually there is, because you don't need to foresee any of this when you play e5. You need to start calculating here, because here you have the emergency exit of queen h5, which certainly wins, and then you start calculating the forcing moves, and it is more than doable here. And now I'm going to show you the final detail, which is that if you are completely oblivious to this concept and you just are constantly trapped in this move to move from 20 to 21, 21 to 22 and so on mentality, then, which is what we did, then the wheels entirely come off. And from +3 to -2, we went like this, because we did not sense what I like to call the tempo of the game. That the position demanded fast action, go, 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 because our army was ready and we are still adjusting the ball instead of going for the kick. And that's the punishment. By the way, that was a soccer analogy for those of you who were wondering what the heck that was. So takes, and all of a sudden we are sitting on top of a pile of catastrophic rubbish. None of our pieces make any sense anymore. There is not a hint of kingside attack. The two rooks are pathetic here. They should really be here and here. The minor pieces are awkwardly piled up on the d file, if anything, offering easy targets. a3 is hanging. Bishop c5 is an imminent threat. It's like, wow, man, what do I do? So for argument's sake, I will play out a line. I go back to bishop b1, bishop c5. I will go to king h1, queen d8. Although knight e4 is already winning. Yeah, actually, knight e4 is winning. Knight e4, knight e4, bishop e4, and queen e4, and I can't take because of back rank mate. Yep. Queen f1, rook d2, and black has got 2 pawns for the exchange, but that's the irrelevant part of the story. The meaningful part of the story is that I have got 20 points worth of pieces completely paralyzed and totally useless. So this is it, guys. The short message basically is that you need to have this ability every now and then, and actually instead I should say more often than not, almost like 2-3 moves every second, third move in the game, instead of, you know, calculating your guts out and trying to figure out, lean back in your chair and ask yourself, what is really going on here? And just try to get a feel for the big picture before you go in for the fine details, for the nitty-gritty, and you try to figure out what to calculate, what plan to play for, where to begin. Epic skill. Once you acquire this, it's a life changer. Alrighty, guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to sub, to like, to comment, please, if you can, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Cheerio. Bye.